listeners. It's October 4, 2024, and you're tuned in to Voiceover Work, an audiobook sampler. Where do you listen? I'm your host, Russell's Computer, and today we're diving into the world of social interactions with Patrick King's groundbreaking book, Social Equations. In this episode, we'll explore practical formulas and strategies to help you connect with anyone, build lasting relationships, and navigate social situations with confidence. From mastering small talk to leaving a positive first impression, Social Equations offers a systematic approach to enhancing your social skills. Whether you're looking to improve your networking abilities, boost your self-esteem, or simply become more comfortable in social settings, this episode is packed with valuable insights. Social Equations is available on Amazon in both print and audiobook formats. You can also find the audiobook on iTunes and Audible. To learn more about Patrick King and his work, visit his website at bit.ly/pkconsulting. Now, let's get started on this journey to becoming more likable, more charismatic, and more productive.
Chapter 1. You can't make a second first impression. If you've picked up this book, chances are that you don't consider yourself a naturally social person. Perhaps you see others around you easily and confidently doing things that you find confusing, nerve-wracking, or just a little mysterious. Each of us can probably call to mind a person we've met who seems to socialize and connect with others seamlessly. They come across as likable, comfortable in themselves, and genuinely witty and charming. You'd be forgiven for assuming that this kind of social aptitude is inborn, something you either have or you don't have. I'm here to tell you that social skills are not a rare kind of genius that only a select few are capable of. Rather, being able to communicate, to connect, to have fascinating conversations, and to genuinely thrive in social situations is a skill set that depends on a predictable set of rules and principles. There's no magic or luck here. Understand these rules and principles and practice them consistently, and there's no reason you cannot be that quintessential social butterfly. In the chapters that follow, we'll be taking a step-by-step look at some of the core skills and breaking them down in such a way that you can get started mastering them, no matter who you are or what your particular limitations are. I've considered plenty of research and information from a wide range of sources, from experts who study human connection, language, and communication, to psychologists, coaches, and masters of conflict resolution. Think of the book that follows as a kind of modern-day etiquette book. I know etiquette is a disastrously old-fashioned word and may conjure up images of high-collared Victorian repression. In reality, etiquette is about much more than manners and propriety. According to Lynn, Coady, we should not confuse traditional behaviors with good manners. The definition of etiquette is gender neutral. It simply means we strive at all times to ensure a person in our company feels at ease. To follow the unspoken rules of social behavior means to be aware of yourself and others, to be respectful and considerate, to be adaptable and easygoing, and to always prioritize connection and harmony over everything else. This book may be a little different from others you may have read on the subject. We'll be exploring not just the unspoken rules of good conversation and the mysterious ins and outs of forming friendships, but also the less appreciated skills, such as how and when to say no, when to keep quiet, and how to earn someone's trust. There's a little of everything here, And you'll find that the principles we cover will apply to professional and personal relationships, to casual and more serious friendships, to everyday encounters with acquaintances, to romantic connections of all kinds. But first, a little about me. I'll be honest, I've never been considered a very sociable or extroverted person, and identified as shy and a little awkward for most of my life. To me, it's always looked like everyone else had received a rule book for how to engage with others, and I'd simply missed out on getting a copy. None of it. Chapter 2, How to be a Human Mirror. And everyone loves mirrors. The 43-57 ratio in conversations. When I was starting out on my social skills adventure, I devoured books that promised to teach me how to be a more captivating speaker, how to be witty and charming, and how to tell good jokes. I did my best to follow the advice in them, but somehow it never quite came together. It was only much later that I understood why. The focus of these books was entirely on the wrong thing. I'd always been a little shy and unconfident, so I assumed that to be more sociable, I would need to learn to be more gregarious and outspoken, and come across as more impressive and likable to people around me. To put it bluntly, I thought that if only I was more interesting, I'd be more likable, and socializing would be easier. Big mistake. I began to behave as though every conversation was simply a platform for me to impress others. I had to make sure that they saw how unique, intelligent, confident, and funny I was. I had to let them know all my interesting opinions, and I had to shine as I told interesting, polished stories that made my life look really enviable. Writing it all down like that probably makes it easy to see just why my approach didn't work. What I now know is that being a good conversationalist has very little to do with how interesting or impressive or sexy or intelligent you are. Instead, a good conversationalist understands that their first duty is not to talk, but to listen. When I first started to practice active listening, I got it wrong. I'd sit there quietly, letting the other person talk. All the while, I was thinking of all the awesome things I was going to blurt out the moment it was my turn. For me, I was still thinking that listening was simply not talking, and a small price you had to pay in order to earn the right to do what you really wanted to do, i.e., talk. The truth is that listening is as active and dynamic a process as talking, perhaps even more so. Today, I believe that genuine listening is in extremely short supply in the world. If you are able to really listen to people when they speak, you cannot help but create trust, good rapport, and a sense of liking with them. If you're in doubt about the power of listening, just ask yourself what you most want when you reach out to someone. Is it to learn about how great they are? Is it to sit and be lectured at length about the opinions they have on this and that? Or is it to truly connect with them, to feel seen and heard, and to have that wonderful sensation of being witnessed and understood by another person? A good conversation is a co-creation. It's a give and take and a lively dance, where the best attitude is one of playfulness, curiosity, and generosity. I remember going to a party once and speaking with a woman I'd never met before. I decided I was going to treat her like the most important person in the world. I was going to listen as closely as I humanly... Chapter 3, Connecting Underneath the Surface, the Secret Structure of Persuasive Communication. To recap then, we've explored two very important principles for social success: understanding how to make friends, small talk, introductions and increasing proximity, intensity, etc. over time, as well as your first main task once you make those friendships, i.e., listen and have genuine empathy. If you can fully master the concepts in the previous 2 chapters, you'll have almost everything you'll ever need to develop and maintain sincere connections with others. In this chapter, we're finally ready, however, to consider some other skills and abilities that are a little less important, but hold the power to drastically transform the way you engage with others. Let's begin with the fundamentals. What's the point of connecting socially with another human being in the first place? All of us have an inbuilt human need to connect with other people, whether that's family, friends, colleagues, or just acquaintances in our community. Some of us need a lot, and some of us are happy with relatively less. Our social needs may also change over the course of our lifespans. Nevertheless, it's something we all need for our sense of meaning, purpose, and well-being in life. What's more, when we communicate, we're primarily doing so to get our needs met, and these needs are often emotional in nature. We reach out to others because we want to meet a whole range of emotional needs: validation, security, praise, support, companionship, recognition, respect, acceptance, privacy, intimacy, a sense of contribution, and belonging. If all of this sounds pretty obvious to you, well, I have to admit that to me, it wasn't all that obvious. You see, I used to think of social skills as, well, a skill, some kind of talent or ability that I could learn, like playing the piano or speaking Spanish. While this is partly true, the trouble was my attitude toward other people in general. I sincerely thought that being a more socially capable person was something that had to do with me alone, a talent I'd acquire in my eternal Project Self quest for personal development. When it came to improving my communication skills, I mistakenly thought that the goal was simply to become very convincing and persuasive. I thought that I needed to come across as witty and intelligent and win arguments, as well as make sure that I always held the right opinions and defended them perfectly in the company of those who didn't. While this kind of thing may be appropriate when constructing a position in a formal philosophy exam, it took me a long time to realize that it actually had no place in the real-life world of human beings around me. I remember buying a book a few years ago that promised to improve the quality and internal logic of your communication and to present your case to others with clear, persuasive, and effective arguments. It was a fascinating book, and I learned a lot from it. The big problem was the book's confused logical, persuasive argument for communication. Rigorously construct faultless premises and be able to withstand counter-arguments and persuade your listeners to accept your position instead of theirs. Chapter 4, on helpful balances for pleasing interactions. The magic relationship ratio. Psychologist and Professor Dr. John Gottman is widely considered a relationship guru and has probably saved more marriages than he can count. His advice, however, is applicable to any type of relationship. His 5-to-1 rule suggests that for a relationship to remain stable and healthy, there should be a minimum of 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction. Of course, this is not to say you should aim to have a certain number of negative interactions. Instead, this ratio explains just how damaging a negative reaction can be to overall harmony and connection, and just what it takes to neutralize its effects. Negative interactions that can harm relationships include being emotionally dismissive, stonewalling, expressing contempt or defensiveness, exaggerated complaining, negative body language, and using yes but remarks. On the other hand, Positive interactions that foster healthy relationships involve asking about each other's day and genuinely listening, showing affection and kind gestures, offering intentional words of appreciation, apologizing when necessary, and sharing laughter and playful teasing. While this ratio isn't an absolute law, it's a helpful guideline for maintaining positive and nurturing connections with others. It reminds us that a relationship, any relationship, is a living, breathing thing that needs to be cared for and maintained over time. If any relationship is continually subject to too many negative interactions without much positive to counterbalance it, the only possible outcome is for it to fizzle and burn out. Gottman's formula is not so much an equation as a ratio. A healthy relationship follows the ratio of 5 to 1, with at least 5 positive interactions for every negative one. Let's take a closer look at what exactly Gottman was trying to explain with this ratio. Where negative interactions are concerned, he identifies 4 types, which he calls the 4 horsemen. These behaviors are signs of trouble in a relationship and can lead to conflict and dissatisfaction. The 4 horsemen are criticism, defensiveness, contempt, stonewalling, ignoring or silent treatment. According to Gottman, the presence of these behaviors in a marriage strongly predicts divorce. But there's no reason to think that a friendship or family relation won't follow the same principles. While occasional negative interactions are normal in any relationship, a persistent presence of these behaviors can be detrimental to the relationship, especially if they're never offset by anything positive. To counteract the negative effects of a single negative interaction during conflict, you need to consciously follow it up with 5 positive interactions. Positive interactions help to de-escalate tension and restore a sense of connection. Dr. Gottman recommends the use of repairs during conflicts, which are statements or actions that de-escalate the tension. And Chapter 5. What's my exit strategy? The XYZ formula for assertive communication. So far, we've considered a set of communication skills that span the life cycle of a social interaction. First, you cross that chasm between you and another unknown person by gradually increasing proximity, intensity, etc. You reach out with small talk, and you find good ways to introduce yourself and start to build familiarity. Then, while getting to know a person, you practice the fundamental communication skill, listening, and through that, you develop your ability to empathize and switch into perspectives that are not your own. By connecting emotionally, you find that you are able to form better friendships, speak so that people really understand you, and even master the art of persuasion, storytelling, and being generally fun to be around. When things don't go so well, however, you need to be able to zoom out and think about the bigger picture and how to keep the balance between positive and negative interactions, build trust over time, and know exactly what to do when you mess up, so that balance and harmony are restored again. Our final chapter extends this theme of what to do when communication breaks down a little, a misunderstanding appears, or there is outright conflict and friction. First, it is a myth that socially intelligent people get along with everyone all the time. If you are a human being, at some point, you will find yourself experiencing some kind of tension with another human being. Socially intelligent people don't experience less of this kind of conflict. They're simply better at managing it when it does crop up. Knowing how to sincerely and effectively apologize when you've damaged the social connection is a skill worth its weight in gold, but of course, sometimes you're the one who feels affronted, or as though your boundaries are being pushed on, or broken outright. If you are a close follower of Gottman's 5-to-1 relationship ratio principle, then you give yourself ample opportunity to make minor course corrections in your relationships so that small niggles and issues never get the chance to become big, serious ones. The XYZ formula for assertive communication is structured in a way to express your thoughts, feelings, and needs in a clear and assertive manner. It helps you effectively communicate your concerns while respecting the feelings and needs of the other person involved. Basically, it's an approach that helps you navigate choppy social waters with as much grace as possible. The goal is simple. Interact in such a way that both your rights and their rights are respected. This ultimately preserves the relationship so that it can survive conflict. Using empathy, listening, and an intention to connect emotionally, you are able to express your own needs clearly while allowing yourself to hear and accommodate the needs of the other person. The desired end is that the conflict dissolves while your connection remains intact. For many people, assertive communication sounds a little scary. It is, however, an essential tool.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Social Skills Coaching. We've delved into the power of social equations, exploring practical strategies to connect with others, build rapport, and navigate social situations with confidence. Remember, mastering social skills is a journey, not a destination. By consistently practicing the techniques and applying the formulas from social equations, you can transform your interactions and unlock your full potential. To learn more about Patrick King and his work, visit his website at bit.ly/pkconsulting. And don't forget to pick up your copy of Social Equations on Amazon. You can also find the audiobook on Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep connecting, keep growing, and keep thriving.